I would like all of you to give an awesome round of welcome to Jennifer Artabane. Now, there's no 12-mile run that she can't do. For every feature request that we have, she runs 12 miles for us. And that's why she looks so amazing. Thank you, Jennifer. She's our Vice President of Product.
Thank you, Sav.
Best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, and thank you so much for joining. As Sav mentioned, I want to talk a little bit about our story of innovation and where we're headed over the next year and so. But I want to first start by what is innovation to us. Innovation is trying to make sure that we're solving our customers' problems, your problems, and in the process, we like to build some cool stuff. Engineers like to build stuff, product managers like to build stuff, our designers love to design cool experiences. So we are excited about what we can introduce to you today. So as we think about what we're thinking about for the next, years to come, we look back at what we've been focused on for the past 15 years. As Jeff mentioned, we have our DNA in real time. We are so focused on helping you build those customer experiences, have the most personalized and wonderful interactions with your customers. And so as we're looking at what we've got going in the next few months and few years, our main focuses right now are around real-time, hyper-personalized, and then enterprise scale. You also heard Jeff say yesterday how much data we're processing on a regular basis. Thank you. Thank you for trusting us with all your data. But that also means you do need to trust us to be able to handle all of your data, and we're always making sure that we're doing that. We've also found over the last few years that we really have a few different types of users within our ecosystem who are working with the Tealium platform. Some of you sit in the marketing teams or in business teams that are working on a day-to-day basis trying to solve your customers' problems and build your customers' experience. And others of you are likely in the back office or in an IT organization supporting some of those business endpoints and making sure that everything's working correctly. So we really are thinking about both of those types of people and what you need within Tealium to really make this the most efficient and effective solution for you. That solution sits on an incredibly strong layer. Again, going back to making sure that we have that enterprise scale, that we can grow with you as you grow, it's important to us that we have a very strong footing of our foundation, that everything we're providing is somewhat standardized to the extent that it needs to be, but also flexible. We've spent a lot of time over the last few years really shoring up and continue to spend time shoring up a lot of this infrastructure and this foundation that lives underneath everything that we provide. This is our Tealium Trust platform and includes all of the different aspects of the behind the scenes that maybe you don't necessarily think about, but you expect and you trust to work properly and importantly for you. But let me tell you a little bit more about some of the applications that we have sitting on top of this that we're really excited about. The first one, as we've been all saying this week, moments that matter. Moments that matter is exceptionally important to all of us because that is what's going to drive those relationships with our customers. It's really where we see the interactions happening. We see a drive towards hyper-personalization. We see a drive towards real-time, of course, being more and more important. And so we've released and are releasing a number of features in our Moments family. One of these is Moments IQ. This is a functionality within our TIQ or Tealium IQ suite that allows you to collect declarative data from your customers. This gives you an opportunity to, again, build that relationship and start that conversation with them at that point in time. If you remember Mike's session yesterday, a lot of times you first get to a website or you get into a digital property and the first thing that pops up is show me your email or give me your email. That's not the first thing we want to have that conversation with our customers. In a lot of cases, you might want to get to the email at some point. We all do. But we want to maybe first start and figure out how can I better deliver the experience that you are here for. Are you here to research that trip or book the trip? Are you here to browse or shop? Are you here because you have a return that you need to take care of? As Mike was mentioning, you've come back to this site too quickly to be buying the next item. Maybe there's something that's wrong and we need to help you with that. Again, these allow you to have that interactive relationship, capture that data from your customer, and then update, change, personalize the experience going forward. It also allows you to bring that data into your data layer, again, through to audience stream or your CDP, and utilize it later as well. Really takes some of the guesswork out of what you're thinking about and what your customers are thinking about, and builds more of a rapport. The second feature that the second feature within our Moments family that we're also releasing in early access right now is our Moments API. And I apologize, I did not mention Moments IQ is also in early access. But Moments API is in early access right now and is part of our Audience Stream family, is a new visitor API that you can use to pull any information you might need from the visitor profile. Today, you may be using our data layer enrichments, which allow you, again, to get that entire visitor profile and then customize or personalize the next interaction or the next experience. But I'm going to guess many of you have hundreds, maybe multiple hundreds, of attributes in those visitor profiles, and that can be a really heavy call. It takes multiple seconds. You can't have an experience that's delayed by a couple of seconds in some cases. You need that experience to be milliseconds. Our Moments API is built to be fast. It is built to return the data you need, just the pieces you want. You choose which pieces you want. It's built to return those as quickly as possible, and we're currently seeing sub 50 millisecond response times. So you can actually accomplish first page personalization. You can actually accomplish really, truly changing and being dynamic with that hyper-personalized experience you want to give your customer. Again, as mentioned, this is currently in early access, and we're expecting it to go to general availability later this month, and excited to talk more about that with anyone who would like to learn more. Now, I'll kind of jump a little bit back into research mode, and I'll just quickly point out for anyone up here in the top right-hand corner, you'll kind of keep track of, or you can see where in the stage of our development some of these things might be. This one is definitely still in research, but AI is something that we're all thinking about. How are we utilizing AI? How are you utilizing AI in your experiences with your customer? How are we thinking about it within Tealium and what we're providing? And one of the things that we are really excited about is a Moments AI or a real-time AI experience. Again, I think Jeff talked a little bit about this idea of you have these experiences already happening with your customer. In this case, maybe it's a chatbot, and that chatbot is able to pull information from both Tealium as well as update the RAG AI that might be running behind it, giving you the ability to have those continual conversations powered by both that visitor data that you have or that you might already have about your customer, the information about what they're doing, and then, of course, updating all of that through real-time AI. But I hear a lot of folks as saying, well, this is great. This helps us with what we're doing with AI and how we're talking to our customers and how we're interacting with our customers, meaning you, not me, with AI. But what is Tealium doing with AI? So we are also spending a lot of time thinking about how can we improve the experience within Tealium by embedding AI within our feature set. This is one example of something that we are currently testing in internal access or sort of internally with our own team. This would be a chatbot or a interaction within the Tealium application to help you work through some of the things you're trying to do in Tealium. Of course, a chatbot like you might expect, but we're hoping to be able to take it into sort of a co-pilot experience where it really is leading you through some of those common actions or common workflows you might be looking to do without you having to sort of learn all of those pieces. So it's currently in internal access, but we're thinking about this for the future and how can we enhance and make that experience that you're having with Tealium easier. We all want to have that easy button, and hopefully we'll be able to provide some of that. There are a number of other things, though, that we're thinking about and researching within our Tealium R&D team around AI and how we can improve the system and your experience. We would love to talk to you about those. I don't have slides on those because some of those are still very early research. We do have our Genius Bar outside that has a few to demo if you'd like to see those. And if you don't make it today, we would be happy to have conversations and hear a little bit more from all of you of what you'd like to see in some of these areas as well. So I've talked a lot about having those experiences with customers, capturing their data, utilizing their data, and building hyper-personalized experiences, potentially putting it into models. But we all know the other side of that coin is privacy and consent, making sure that you're thinking about the data that you have and that you're not misusing it or doing anything that you shouldn't be doing. Last year, we released some functionality connections into other CMPs through our tag management system. This was a number of integrations that we released last year. This year, we are in the process of releasing a new consent orchestration feature and functionality within our server side or event stream and audience stream products. This allows you to centralize the control of what data is used and sent to which downstream connectors. Today, likely you are configuring this manually on each connector as you are building that out. You're saying if consent equals yes, do this. And you might have 4 or 5 different consent attributes. This brings all of that upstream, provides you kind of a central place to say, these are my analytics consent indicators. These are my AI consent indicators. And then it would automatically map to the appropriate downstream connectors. Really brings a lot of that manual work off of your team's hands and then thankfully, hopefully, eliminates some manual errors that may be happening. I like to call this feature the one that lets your auditors and lawyers sleep at night, because now they know that they can look in one place and confirm that you are sending the right data to the right places. This one is currently in internal access. We'll be going into early access later this month, and then we hope to be able to take this out to general availability within the few months after. Now, I said at the beginning that we're really thinking about kind of 2 different user types within our platform and within Tealium. One being your business users who maybe are in the application on a regular basis. They may be point and click and using the UI, and then there's the others who are your IT users. We really want to spend more time thinking about how can we make the Tealium experience and the Tealium application easier for your business users who are spending so many hours of their life in the platform. We are thinking about AI, and of course, how can we enhance that? But also looking at what are some ways we can improve the user experience, improve the workflows, make it cleaner and easier so you're not having to replicate some of the work that you're doing over and over again. Last year, hopefully you all saw an update to our audience experience where we streamlined how you set that up, introduced segments so that you could reuse those. We're similarly rolling out a new update to our connector workflow. Again, streamlines the experience, makes it so that it's easier to figure out what are the next steps. How do you go from choosing which connector you want to map, mapping it, and then of course, in the case where maybe you need to copy mappings from another connector as opposed to having to redo everything all over again, or insert mappings from another action. Again, trying to bring some of that ease of use into our connector workflow. We're also trying to make sure that it's easy for many of your individuals to work together in the application at the same time. A lot of people will refer to this as concurrent users or concurrency, and I know that many folks struggle with having to coordinate making changes within the application so that things don't get overridden or removed. Our team is going to be updating the save and publish workflow within the application so that this allows you to see which changes are being made, who made them, and then bring them all together at the same time. This eliminates any of that overriding or jockeying for who's in the application at any point in time, so that you can all kind of work together. Phase 1, of course, is an update to that save and publish workflow. Phase 2 is when we introduce the second UI that you see on the right, which is our version history. Gives you more detail about what information was changed by whom, so that if you do need to go back and make changes or revert, you can do that. Very excited about this functionality because it hopefully will unlock the ability for more of your teams to be able to execute more things in Tealium and really drive the value for your business. And the last thing that we're currently thinking about is how can we enhance the experience for you, again, to understand exactly what you're trying to do and help you get to that point. Our team is currently in research around a new homepage or a new sort of overall user experience, navigational experience within the application. Our design team is in, kind of starting to think about what are the different actions that people are trying to do? What are the things they need to jump to right away? What are the things that maybe they don't want to see right now and maybe ignore but get popped up later? And really thinking about where they can enhance or bring that to the forefront. What you see here up in the top in this kind of explore section, recommendations for you, is an idea of how Copilot might be within the application. But a few other examples of some of the things that we're thinking about, or how can we visualize what's happening for you, or bring up places where maybe you left off and jump right back in. Also giving you the customizability of what you want to use on your homepage or how you want to use the application. I tease our design lead all the time that I am a function over form kind of person. I like to know that I can get what I need to get done fast, and if you put some pretty colors on it, great. I don't know if I really care. It's blue or pink. Doesn't really matter as much to me. But a lot of people have different preferences, of course. I know I'm not just the only voice in the room. So we want to make sure that we're hearing what everyone would like to see and think about, and also making it so that you can choose what your experience looks like, and I can choose what my experience looks like, and we don't have to make one experience that suddenly is perfect for all of us. So that's a little bit of some of the ideas here. This is a place where we would love your feedback. Again, we are in early research on this, just starting to get some ideas on paper, mapping out how we think folks have been using the system through some of the data we have, but really get some better understanding of what would be helpful. So I do encourage you to reach out to us, reach out to your team that you're working with, and tell us a little bit more about what would be helpful for you. I want to move on now a little bit to our IT side of the house. So those of you who are in the application, you often trust that the system is doing what it needs to do. You're hoping that everything is working as expected, but there's likely someone in your IT organization that says, can I see more about that? Or how do I know? Or what are some of the things that maybe would give me more confidence or visibility into all of that? So our general belief is that client-side tagging is not going away. It will become a more robust solution as we have more server-side tagging, and the EDF, or Event Data Framework, that we have today becomes a solution that potentially can solve both of these. Your TIQ tags are going to be important for some of the tagging applications you need, and server-side might be the right place for others, and some might need both. But this is a marriage. This is not necessarily one versus the other. So we're really excited about kind of how the Event Data Framework is going to solve all of that. So here what I'm showing on the slide is that we think about the Event Data Framework as having a lot of different purposes. Of course, tag management is where we are today. It's right in the middle. You're using that, and of course, we're excited about how we can continue to deliver more there. Our Moments IQ functionality that I was talking about a minute ago goes a little bit further to the right, towards the use cases side with the experience layer. How are we, again, using some of that interaction to collect data and help you get more information or develop better use cases? But one of the things that we're really focusing on and thinking about and researching is on this left-hand side around the data. What can we do to help you have the observability and the understanding of exactly what's happening with your data capture? What are some places where we can ensure that the data is doing what it should be doing and that the tags are firing accordingly, or anything that might be sort of, again, helping you ensure the system is doing what it needs to be doing? So we're currently in early research. We've been thinking about this for a while, and we're starting to kind of map out where we want to go with that. Again, would love any feedback from folks on what we're thinking about. Similarly, those of you who are in the application just want to know the data's getting there, or that the data's getting somewhere else that it needs to go. One of the places that is so important is connecting to your cloud data warehouse. We've talked about it before, and again, if you remember Mike's hard drive versus RAM example, we very much believe that the real-time data flow that's happening within Tealium is more powerful because of the connection it has to whatever data store system you're using. We've been working on and building out a cloud data warehouse ecosystem so that we have as many and all of those connections available to you. We're presently in early access and internal access for our Snowflake connections. We're doing an outbound streaming, which you may have heard about yesterday, that gets the data to Snowflake within a few seconds. We're calling that real time. We're going to go with it. And then we're also about to release an inbound connector, which would bring the data in from Snowflake so that you can augment the real-time information you're capturing on your website or on your digital properties. So both of these are, again, nearing early access or general availability. And then after Snowflake, we expect that there will be others that we'll tackle. We already know that we're going after Databricks next. That's the next cloud data warehouse that we'll add to the ecosystem. And beyond that, we expect that we'll prioritize all the others, as I like to say, whether that is our Google or Azure or AWS. They'll all ultimately, hopefully, be part of our family and part of our ecosystem. And we'll have a better timeline on priority once we get some more feedback there. Also, another area that we hear a lot about is I don't want to log into the application to have to do the things that I need to get done, or I just want to be able to send information or configure what needs to happen via API. Again, as we're looking at more of our customers having dispersed teams, multinational teams in some cases, that are trying to work in the system, there's not necessarily a single application or a single interface that works for everyone. We're in the process of building out a new developer network and exposing more of our API functionality so that you can do some of that via API as opposed to UI. We expect that we'll be bringing some of this out later this year and then continuing to add on to these, as I say, forever. Hopefully we'll be adding APIs as long as we're around and as long as we're able to support what you need from us. But you'll start to see some of those exposed in our new dev portal later this year. And the last item I want to just touch on, again, in the vein of trying to make sure that you understand what's happening with your data. Is everything moving as it should? Are there any errors that I need to be aware of? Is there anything that I should be thinking about? We're introducing more visibility into any of the logs or errors that we might have in the system. This will first start later this fall with our connector information. So there will be the ability to stream your connector logs into a system of your choice. You might already have Splunk or Datadog or any of these other SCIM applications set up and ready in your organization that can receive this, and then your central team can be monitoring it. They likely don't want to have to log into Tealium. They just want to know that they're going to get an alert when something isn't working the way it should be, and this will hopefully provide them that information. For those of you who are logging into the application, though, we're also going to expose that in the UI. So you will have visibility into that there as well, so that you can, of course, troubleshoot as needed. We're starting with connectors, and we expect that we'll be adding as much as we possibly can with things focused around changes in your platform permissions or changes in or updates on who published or what was just published, information about data sources that maybe are working as expected or maybe aren't working as expected. So we're really looking at providing as much visibility into what's happening within the system so that you can better manage it and better ensure that it's meeting your needs on a regular basis. So I appreciate you all joining me today to talk a little bit about where we're going and what we're thinking about. As I was mentioning earlier, we are very focused on, of course, real time. It is in our bread and butter. It is exactly where we want to be, and focusing on how we can help you be more personalized and hyper-personalized with your interactions with your customers. Those Moments IQ, API, Moments AI, Tealium Genius are all about helping you have those moments that matter. And then some of our other items here around connector workflows, multi-user, homepage, event data framework, and the rest of the list over there are, again, all about helping you better understand how we're growing with you, adapting to your needs, and delivering the things that you need to make sure that Tealium can best work. Thank you so much for joining. I do have a few minutes left, and I'm happy to take any questions or discuss any of the items that I mentioned already if you would like a little bit more information.
So with regards to Tealium Genius, do you see its better use for ideating, getting more data in, or being a better tool for governing and managing your source of truth?
So with Tealium Genius, we're thinking about that as being more of a tool or sort of a helper within the application that would help you with the information that you need. So whether that's better driving the workflow of how you're going to set something up or how you're going to map your data layer, or even giving you information on, I need to better understand what pieces of my data layer have the information that I need. So instead of just searching for lifetime value, it does know your attributes and it does understand that, and it can look at the metadata there, so it can even pull things up that maybe don't have LTV or lifetime value in the title or in the description, but are related to lifetime value, and give you more accessibility to that in those workflows. Let me go back there and I'll come back to you.
For the concurrency enhancements, do you have anticipated timelines for those?
Yeah, so the team is currently working on the multi-user and versioning updates. They are targeting to be able to take that into early access this summer. Our early access program, for those of you who are not familiar, is typically when we invite a handful of customers who really are interested in confirming with us that the solution is solving the problem that we really need. We extend the invitation to those of you who want to be partners with us, who want to meet with us regularly and talk about how it's working and how it's not working for you. You'll hopefully then influence what we're going to be changing or adjusting, or if it's absolutely perfect and ready to go. I always hope for those, but I never expect them. And so, again, we'll take that into early access hopefully later this summer, and then depending on how that goes, we'll expect it to go to general availability after that.
Regarding the APIs, do you have anything in there that could be utilized for profile promotion? So we can treat one as a lower environment, export, and then import as for production?
Yeah, so I didn't touch too much on this, but this is definitely an area that we're also thinking about within sort of that concurrency and concurrent workflow. I know that sounds a little funny, but if we think about how when you are working with your team on making changes to the system, sometimes you're struggling with who's making which change when, but you might also be struggling on who's making which change to environment A, to dev, to test, for production, and how are those changes potentially being propagated from one to the next after you've tested them out. So the team that's thinking about kind of how to make that user experience of working together is also already starting to think about and plan what they can do to improve what I like to refer to as sort of the QA workflow, but the workflow of how you would test the changes and then promote them to whatever appropriate next environment. It's not part of the APIs particularly, but it's definitely something we're already researching and planning. Yeah.
So I absolutely love how Tealium is leaning in on zero-party data. I feel like it's been one of the most neglected forms of data because it really lets your user feel heard instead of watched. So I'm just really curious, are you going to layer it into your consent layer to where users could consent to just the zero-party data without the web tracking? I think you get a lot of traction with that.
Oh, that's an interesting perspective. I don't know that I've personally thought about that yet, but I would love to sort of maybe introduce you to our product manager who's thinking about zero-party data and the one who's also thinking about consent, and maybe that's a great conversation for us to have. Thank you. What, Ted?
Listen versus watch.
I love that. Listen versus watch. Yes.
Back to the APIs. I was listening to the last Bright Talk product roadmap conversation. One of those APIs was the visitor lookup API. Very excited about that one. Can you forecast at all if those APIs will be subject to limits like the current event limits we push in?
Yeah, they likely will. It will depend on which API and, of course, what's in the payload as far as what we want to sort of let through the pipes at any point in time. But we also don't want to build an API that you feel like you can't use, right? So we want to make sure that the API has a level of limitation that doesn't feel like you're going to hit it on the get-go. We are looking at, as mentioned, a number of the APIs that we currently have in early access and bringing those over to our new developer platform. Visitor API and visitor lookup API being some of those. And I expect at that point that we will likely need to put some limitation in place on each of those. They might be different for different APIs depending on, again, the volumes that are traditional and also the response payload so that we're giving you the information in an accurate and timely manner. Yep. I can still hear you. You're good.
All right. One of my primary use cases for it would be setting up automation testing, which of course be a little it'll be chatty, but
Yeah.
Having an automation suite, pushing data in, automatically creating and going to audiences in my lower environments, and then detecting that that's all successfully working would be fantastic. Take
Yeah.
a lot of the guesswork out of this.
It's like a great use case, and again, one we would love to talk to you a little bit more about. anything that I've mentioned and things that I haven't mentioned, my team and I are always here to listen. A number of folks have been at the Genius Bar this week. Hopefully you've met a few of them. Teresa's sitting right there in the middle. You're always welcome to grab one or the two of us afterwards. And if you don't have time or can't meet with us today, we're happy to meet with you and your teams at any point in time, talk to you about what we're thinking about, but really hear from you what you're thinking about and what you need. So again, would love to talk a little bit more about kind of your thoughts there around QA and using the APIs. So thank you all so much for joining me. I really appreciate the questions and the feedback. And as mentioned, we're always here, so please do let us know if we can do anything for you. Have a great afternoon.